All right, everyone. Today we're going to talk about prepositions and prepositional phrases. And I know that this is a topic that some of you kind of feel like is something you didn't learn, but it should have been something you learned in about fourth grade. I know that when we're getting to sentence structure and trying to identify those parts of the sentence, this is something that is tripping a lot of you up. So I think it's really important that we go through and review prepositions, what they are, and how they act in phrases. Okay, so what is a preposition? Well, a preposition is a word that shows a relationship between a noun or pronoun and some other word in the sentence. Sometimes it's between two nouns, sometimes it has to do with the verb, but it's always having one noun, which is in the phrase, and its relationship to another word in the sentence. So it's a connector in a way. So if we look at our example sentence here, the baseball player in the white shirt hit a home run. What I'm looking for you to do is to identify that the word in is a preposition. So this is something that you should be recognizing that that is a word that could act as a preposition, not in every sentence, but in the majority of cases. And so you look at that word and you're like, all right, there's the preposition. That is the leader of my phrase. The preposition is always going to be the first word in the prepositional phrase. So when I do that for myself, I oftentimes will just like bracket it right there and be like, that's the start. There's some people who call it like the preposition parade, with the preposition being the leader of the parade. So it always has to be that leader. So I usually kind of put a bracket there. This particular slide is showing it circled. And then I continue through the phrase until I find that noun or pronoun that it's trying to connect. All of the words that exist between that preposition and its object are part of the phrase. They are not allowed to be anything else in the sentence. They are trapped in that prepositional phrase. And so I'm starting with in. I have the, not a noun or pronoun, so that doesn't count. White, not a noun or pronoun, so that doesn't count. And then I have shirt. Well, shirt is a noun or pronoun. Once I get to that noun or pronoun, I'm like, great, my phrase is finished. The only exception would be if I had a conjunction here, like a fanboy, and or. Those are the big ones. But if I had like in the white shirt and blue shorts, then I would keep going until after shorts, because in goes with both of those different descriptors. Okay, and what I'm saying is the player, I'm connecting the player to the shirt by using that word in as a preposition. Here are some other examples. On her boat, before noon, you guys can read all these, but these are a bunch of different examples of how prepositional phrases can be built. Some of them you'll notice are just the preposition and its object, just a two words. Two words is the minimum, but sometimes we have adjectives and adverbs that get caught in between the preposition and its object. Sometimes I call that the love affair. The preposition has to have its object, so I say things like in, it's looking for the object of its affection. The object is house. It's the love affair between those two. They get trapped in the love, and A can't even get out because it is stuck in between that love affair there. So it has to have, the preposition has to have its object, because otherwise it can't be a preposition. So it loses its status if it doesn't have that object. All right, so I've been saying a lot about the object of the preposition, but I didn't really explain completely what it is. So the object of the preposition is always going to be that noun or pronoun that follows the preposition. Like I said, the prep is always the leader of the group. And then we go, 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 go until that first noun or pronoun, and we'll call that the object. And we've been talking about case. So that word is always going to be objective case. So if it was to be a pronoun, we would use the objective case form of the verb of the word, because it is an object. Okay, so this again is echoing that we're having prepositional phrases always being with the preposition and with the object, which is a noun or pronoun. So it asks you to write sentences for these. Instead, what I'm going to do is just label them up. And so I'm going to say, I have my preposition is always my first. So I'm just going to put those out there right now. Preposition, preposition, preposition. I'm going to read until I find my object of the preposition. Object, object. That's where it's going to end. Okay, so this is where I'm actually going with this topic. When we talked about phrases and clauses in the beginning of the year, really this is kind of what the expectation was that the new information was going to be, is that you could already identify the prepositional phrase, but now we're going to recognize that that prepositional phrase as a whole acts as a part of speech, and it acts as an adjective or an adverb. And I know this adjective, like it's just the font, but that looks really weird there. It looks like a J. All right, so it is, if it's going to act as an adjective, it's going to modify a noun or pronoun. So the word that it's connecting that object to, so I'm just going to label down here, the puppy in the shop window jumped up. I'm going to label my preposition and I'm going to label my object. So what it's saying is I'm always going to have this noun or pronoun because I have an object. So I'm trying to figure out what it is that I'm trying to connect that word to. And this one, it's going to be puppy. And because it's puppy in the shop window, puppy is a noun. A word that describes a noun is an adjective. I'm going to bracket this out. And what I'm saying to you is this whole thing in the shop window is acting like an adjective phrase. The whole thing is being an adjective. And it's answering either which one, what kind, or how many. And in this case, puppy in the shop window. And notice I can have this sentence without the prepositional phrase. They're interchangeable because they're just modifiers. So I could have the puppy jumped up, but I want to know which one. The puppy in the shop window jumped up. So now I have my phrase is answering which one, giving more information about that, and therefore I have an adjective phrase. However, like I said, those prepositional phrases, they're not always adjectives. Sometimes they're adverb phrases. And so obviously an adverb's job is to modify a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. And they answer the same questions that adverbs would answer. So again, I'm going to go down. The puppy jumped to the food. I'm going to label my preposition to. I'm going to label my object food. I like to bracket mine out to separate it out. Again, I could have the puppy jumped without that. It's extra information, but it is actually answering where. Where is the puppy jumping? To the food. So it's being an adverb phrase. Okay, so this slideshow was created by someone else and I edited it to make it my own. And this slide originally said you must memorize the prepositions, but I completely disagree with that. I think you need to recognize them. So you need to look over the list in a way that like you don't need to like say it from memory. You just need to look at a word and say to yourself, okay, that one could be a preposition. So if you memorize them enough to recognize them, that is what we're looking for here. There also is a preposition song that is sung to Yankee Doodle that I can leave the lyrics to in the folder for you in case that helps you to do a memorize like that. But in my opinion, it's more about recognizing those words. So why don't we just take a quick look at the most common ones? I can't give you a list of every single one because English changes so quickly, but I can give you the common ones. And I will also put this list in the folder as well. So here's my list, and I have to say that, again, these aren't all of them, but these are definitely the most common that you'll see. Any that are other than this kind of are being used differently than we would typically, but this is it. This is the most common. So you can see that we have single word ones. I like to say that the majority of prepositions are literally position words, like the words that tell the position of either a noun in relationship to the object in the prepositional phrase or where something is happening. So in relationship to that item. So, it's across the street or it's beside my table, or, all of those kind of things are words that can be prepositions. And you'll see here's a nice list. But we also have something, we call these compound prepositions. They're more than one word. So just like a compound sentence has more than one independent clause, a compound preposition is multi-word, two or more words. And so both words count as just one preposition. So I just wanted to put that out there for you so that you could see it. And I will attach this list in the folder that this video is in. Okay, so that being said, I just showed you all those words. If you see one of those words in the sentence, but it is not part of the phrase, it's not starting a prepositional phrase, there's no object following it that goes with it, then you can't have a preposition. No object, no preposition. And that's where that love affair that I was talking about, like as a joke earlier, breaks down. Because in order to be a preposition, it has to have that object. It cannot stand alone. Prepositions cannot stand alone. So that's why if you ever heard somebody like say that you can't end a sentence with a preposition, well, that's literally true because it's no longer a preposition then, it's an adverb. So if I say, the dog ran inside the house. Okay, I have inside preposition, house object, I have a prepositional phrase. But the second I have the dog ran inside, well, I'm breaking that rule. I can't end with a preposition. And that is true because once I don't have that object, that love affair, I know that's silly, but a lot of people remember it that way. Now I have adverb. Okay, so that is the differentiation there. Here's a couple more examples. The gecko climbed up the wall. So we have a preposition, we have our object, and just as a reminder, these words in the middle are just called modifiers. So we have a prepositional phrase. The gecko climbed up though. No object. This is an adverb. The gecko climbed up on the wall. This is tricky. This is not a compound preposition, so we can't use that as one. So the reason these are color-coded differently is because this on is a preposition. Again, it has to start the phrase. So on is the start of the prepositional phrase. Here's my preposition, here's my object, again, modifier. But now up is all alone, adverb. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to ask you to pause, and I'd like you to try to identify these yourself, and then I'll give you the answers. So just pause here, try it out, see if you can find the prepositional phrases, both the preposition and the object as the preposition, and there could be more than one in each sentence. Okay, hopefully you paused and tried it out. So for each one, I'm starting with my preposition with the blue border. Here is my object. So that's where my prepositional phrase ends, but then I have a verb phrase here. So then no prepositional phrase there, but then I start a new prepositional phrase here. So I have prep and object, so that sentence has two. Jordan's eyes sparkle like a sunny day. Preposition, object. Okay, modifiers. With great ease, preposition, object. Again, modifier, preposition, object. That is my modifier. Okay, last one. Again, please pause here, and I'd like you to tell me if the green underlined word is an adverb or a preposition. Please pause now. Hopefully you paused and tried it out, but here are the answers. Number one below is a preposition because it has the surface as the object. And then of the pond, preposition of pond object. 2 has two adverbs. Up has no object of preposition, and neither does down. So if you see a word that's like the last word in the sentence, like we talked about earlier, always going to be adverb. Is Taylor near? Again, adverb. There's no space for an object there. And then in number 4, across the bus, prepositional phrase. To the purple-haired boy, prepositional phrase. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to throw some extra practice and some resources in the folder for you, but I'm happy to chat about this anymore. Hope you got something out of this one.